Sebastian Cole laughed as he watched his mistress pour a glass of vintage Cabernet right over his wife's baby bump. Standing in a room full of billionaires, 7 months pregnant and humiliated, Audrey Bennett looked weak and isolated to him. He made the fatal mistake of assuming she was alone in this world. But Audrey isn't an orphan. She is a Rossi. And her brother, Dante, is the kind of man who doesn't file lawsuits. He buries problems. Sebastian thought he had won. But tonight, the hunter becomes the prey. The invitation felt heavy in Audrey Bennett's hand, the gold leaf embossing scratching against her thumb. The Cole Enterprises annual gala. It was supposed to be a celebration of her husband's success, a night where the city's elite gathered to toast Sebastian Cole, the man of the hour. But for Audrey, standing in front of the full-length mirror in their master bedroom, it felt like a summons to an execution. She turned to the side, smoothing the fabric of her champagne-colored silk gown over her 7-month baby bump. She looked tired. No amount of concealer could hide the shadows under her hazel eyes, or the way her collarbones protruded sharply, a stark contrast to the swelling life inside her. "Are you still staring at yourself?" The voice cut through the silence like a whip. Audrey flinched, turning to see Sebastian standing in the doorway. He was impeccable in a bespoke navy tuxedo, his jawline sharp, his blue eyes cold and impatient. He checked his Rolex, a gift she had bought him 2 years ago when he was just a struggling architect. "I'm ready, Sebastian," she whispered, grabbing her clutch. I'm having some back pain today. The doctor said." "I don't care what the doctor said, Audrey," Sebastian snapped, walking past her to grab his cologne. He didn't even look at her. "Tonight is the biggest night of my career. Investors from Dubai are flying in. I need a wife who looks the part, not a charity case complaining about a backache. Try to smile. It's the least you can do considering you contribute absolutely nothing to this household." Audrey bit her lip, tasting iron. Nothing. She had liquidated her late grandmother's savings to fund his first firm. She had worked double shifts as a paralegal to pay their mortgage while he built his empire. But now that Sebastian was the king of real estate in New York, history had been rewritten. In his version, he was the self-made god, and she was the anchor dragging him down. "I'll be fine," she said, her voice steadying. "Let's go." The car ride to the Pierre Hotel was silent. Sebastian spent the entire time texting, a smirk playing on his lips that he never showed her anymore. When they arrived, the flashbulbs of the paparazzi blinded her. Sebastian immediately switched on his public persona, the charming, doting husband. He placed a hand on the small of her back, guiding her past the reporters. "Sebastian, who are you wearing?" one shouted. "Sebastian, is it true Cole Enterprises is merging with the Oak Haven Group?" He answered them with a dazzling smile, squeezing Audrey's waist just a little too hard. "No comment on business tonight, gentlemen. Tonight is about celebration." Inside, the ballroom was a sea of diamonds and designer suits. Waiters circulated with trays of champagne and caviar. Audrey felt instantly nauseous. The smell of expensive perfume, mixed with the scent of roasted duck, was overwhelming. "Go find a table in the back," Sebastian muttered in her ear, his smile never wavering for the cameras. "Stay out of the way. I have people to greet." "Sebastian, can I just get some water?" "Find it yourself, Audrey. You're not an invalid." He pulled away, smoothing his jacket, and walked straight toward a group of men near the bar. Audrey exhaled a shaky breath and maneuvered through the crowd. She felt the eyes on her, judgmental, pitying. New York society was small. Everyone knew Sebastian Cole was a shark. Everyone whispered about how the plain, quiet Audrey didn't fit his new aesthetic. She found a quiet corner near the heavy velvet curtains and sat down, rubbing her swollen ankles. She just had to survive 3 hours. Then she could go home, curl up in the nursery she was painting, and forget she existed. Well, well, look who's hiding in the corner. Audrey froze. She knew that voice. It was high-pitched, syrupy, and laced with venom. She looked up to see Sasha Miller standing over her. Sasha was everything Audrey wasn't right now. Tall, razor-thin, and wearing a crimson dress that was scandalously cut for a corporate gala. She was Sebastian's executive assistant, a title that everyone knew was a joke. She was 22, the daughter of a bankrupt oil tycoon, and she had been sleeping with Sebastian for 6 months. "Hello, Sasha," Audrey said quietly, looking down at her hands. "You look expansive, Audrey." Sasha giggled, swirling her glass of red wine. She didn't move away. Instead, she signaled to someone across the room. Audrey followed her gaze, and her heart stopped. Sebastian was watching them. He wasn't rushing over to separate his wife and his mistress. He was leaning against a pillar, sipping scotch, watching with a look of amused boredom. "I think you should leave me alone, Sasha," Audrey said, her protective instinct flaring. She placed a hand over her stomach. "Why?" Sasha stepped closer, her perfume, Chanel No. 5, the same one Sebastian had stopped buying for Audrey, suffocating the air. "Because you're pregnant? Oh, honey, do you really think that baby is going to save your marriage? Sebastian calls it a trap. He told me last night that he can't wait until you drop the kid so he can file the papers and be done with you." The room seemed to tilt. He wouldn't say that. "He says a lot of things when he's with me." Sasha smirked. She leaned down, her face inches from Audrey's. "He says you're boring, frigid, that looking at you makes him depressed." "Stop it," Audrey whispered, tears pricking her eyes. "Please." "Stop what?" Sasha laughed, loud enough that heads began to turn. The music had lulled, and the nearby tables, filled with Sebastian's business partners, were now watching the spectacle. "I said stop!" Audrey tried to stand up, but her heavy dress and the baby's weight made her clumsy. She stumbled slightly, bumping the edge of the table. Sasha gasped theatrically. "Watch it! You almost ruined my dress, you clumsy cow!" "I didn't touch you." Sebastian was walking over now. Audrey felt a surge of relief. Surely he would stop this. He cared about his image too much to let a scene happen. "What is going on here?" Sebastian asked, his voice smooth but dangerous. He looked at Sasha, then at Audrey. "She pushed me, Sebastian." Sasha lied effortlessly, pouting. "I was just coming over to congratulate her on the baby, and she started screaming at me. She's so hormonal. It's scary." Audrey stared at her husband, pleading with her eyes. "You know she's lying. You know me." Sebastian looked at Audrey with pure disgust. Audrey apologized to Sasha. The silence in the ballroom was deafening. Even the string quartet seemed to have stopped. "What?" Audrey breathed. "You heard me," Sebastian said, loud enough for the investors to hear. "You've been moody and irrational all week. I won't have you abusing my staff. Apologize." I won't," Audrey said, her voice shaking but firm. "She insulted me. She insulted our child." Sebastian laughed, a cruel, dry sound. "Our child? You mean your insurance policy? Don't play the victim. Apologize or you can walk home." Sasha beamed, emboldened by Sebastian's support. She took a step closer to Audrey, holding her wine glass loosely. "Yeah, Audrey, apologize, or maybe you need to cool off." It happened in slow motion. Sasha tilted her wrist. The dark red liquid splashed out of the glass. It hit Audrey's chest first, soaking into the expensive silk, then ran down, staining her baby bump in a horrific, jagged red streak that looked like blood. The crowd gasped. The cold wine seeped through to her skin. Audrey stood frozen, the humiliation burning hotter than the liquid. She looked at Sebastian. He wasn't angry at Sasha. He wasn't rushing to help his pregnant wife with a napkin. He was smirking. "Well," Sebastian drawled, taking a sip of his scotch. "That's an improvement. The dress was a little plain anyway." Laughter, a few scattered, nervous chuckles from his sycophants, followed by Sasha's high-pitched giggle. Audrey felt something inside her snap. It wasn't a breakage, it was a realignment. The fear, the desperation to please him, the years of making herself small so he could feel big. It all evaporated, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She simply reached into a clutch, pulled out her phone, and wiped a drop of wine from her screen. "You're right, Sebastian," Audrey said. Her voice was different now. The tremble was gone. It was low, hollow, and terrifyingly calm. "I don't fit in here." "Finally she gets it," Sasha sneered, reaching for another glass from a passing waiter. Audrey turned and began to walk away. She didn't run. She walked with her head high, the red stain a badge of war on her stomach. "Where are you going?" Sebastian called out, annoyed that she wasn't crying. "If you walk out that door, Audrey, don't bother coming back. I'm cutting off your cards in 10 minutes. Audrey paused at the double doors. She didn't look back. She just typed a single text message. 2. Dr. Message. It's time. Come get me. She hit send and pushed the doors open, stepping out into the cool New York night. She wasn't Audrey Bennett, the architect's mousy wife, anymore. She was Audrey Rossi, and the devil was about to find out why you never touch a Rossi. The New York wind in November was merciless. It cut through Audrey's stained silk dress, biting at her exposed skin. But she didn't shiver. She stood on the curb outside the Pierre Hotel, clutching her small beaded bag, staring at the blurred lights of the traffic. Valets rushed past her, ignoring the pregnant woman standing like a statue near the fountain. They were too busy attending to the parade of limousines picking up the gala guests. 10 minutes passed, then 20. The heavy glass doors of the hotel swung open, and the sound of laughter spilled out. Sebastian stumbled out, his arm draped possessively around Sasha's waist. Sasha was wearing Sebastian's tuxedo jacket over her shoulders, a gesture of intimacy that stung Audrey more than the cold. They stopped when they saw her. "Oh my God!" Sasha squealed, her voice slurring slightly from the wine. "She's still here. That is so sad. Like a stray dog waiting for scraps." Sebastian sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. He walked over to Audrey, his patent leather shoes clicking on the pavement. He stopped 3 feet away, refusing to get too close, as if her misfortune was contagious. "I told you to go home, Audrey," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "What are you doing? Trying to make a scene for the paparazzi? Playing the martyr?" "I'm waiting for my ride," Audrey said, her eyes fixed on the street. Sebastian laughed, a harsh bark of a sound. "Your ride? An Uber? I cancelled your credit cards 10 minutes ago, sweetheart. The ride isn't coming. You have no cash, no cards, and no friends. Face it, you're nothing without me." He reached into his pocket, pulled out a crumpled $20 bill, and tossed it at her. The bill fluttered in the wind and landed in a puddle of dirty rainwater near her feet. "Take the subway," he sneered. "Go back to the house, pack your things and be gone by tomorrow morning. I want the nursery cleared out. Sasha wants to turn it into a yoga studio." Audrey looked at the money in the mud. Then she looked at Sebastian. For the first time in 3 years, she didn't see the man she loved. She saw a stranger. A weak, pathetic stranger. "Keep it," Audrey said softly. You're going to need every penny soon. Is that a threat? Sebastian stepped closer, his face darkening. You think you can threaten me? I am Sebastian Cole. I own this city. Before he could continue, a low, vibrating hum filled the air. It wasn't the sound of a normal car engine. It was the growl of raw power. Everyone on the curb fell silent. The valet stopped moving. 3 matte black SUVs turned the corner, moving in a tight, predatory formation. They weren't the standard town cars used by the Wall Street crowd. These were armored Escalades, heavily modified, with tinted windows dark enough to swallow the light. They didn't slow down for the traffic. The traffic moved for them. The lead SUV screeched to a halt exactly where Audrey was standing. The 2 flanking vehicles blocked off the street, cutting off the lane. What is this? Sasha whispered, her drunken smile fading. Is this a celebrity? Sebastian frowned. I didn't order a car service. The back door of the middle SUV opened. A man stepped out. He was massive, 6'4", with shoulders that strained against a black Italian suit that cost more than Sebastian's car. His hair was slicked back, dark as oil, and a jagged scar ran from his left ear down to his jawline, disappearing into his collar. He didn't look like a businessman. He looked like war. It was Dante Rossi, the head of the Rossi crime family, the man the FBI had been trying to pin down for a decade, the man known in the underworld simply as the Butcher. And he was Audrey's big brother. Dante didn't look at Sebastian. He didn't look at the crowd. His dark eyes locked onto Audrey. He took in the shivering frame, the swollen belly, and then his gaze stopped on the red stain covering her chest and stomach. The temperature on the street seemed to drop 10 degrees. Dante walked up to Audrey, his movements fluid and terrifyingly calm. He reached out a hand, large and scarred, and gently touched the wet fabric on her shoulder. Wine? Dante asked. His voice was a deep rumble, like thunder miles away. Yes, Audrey whispered. Who? One word. Simple. Lethal. Audrey didn't speak. She just shifted her eyes to the left, toward Sebastian and Sasha. Dante turned. Sebastian Cole was a tall man, confident and athletic, but under Dante Rossi's gaze, he shrank. He took an involuntary step back, his survival instinct screaming at him to run. Who the hell are you? Sebastian demanded, trying to muster his arrogance. You're blocking traffic. I'll have you arrested. Dante ignored him completely. He looked at Sasha, who was trembling, clutching Sebastian's jacket. Then he looked at Sebastian. He stared at them for 5 agonizing seconds, memorizing their faces, their souls. Then Dante turned back to his sister. He took off his own suit jacket, heavy, warm, smelling of cedar and gun oil, and wrapped it around her shoulders. It engulfed her small frame. Get in the car, Sorrelina, little sister, Dante said gently. Wait, Sebastian shouted, realization dawning that this man knew his wife. Audrey, who is this? You're leaving with a stranger? You're cheating on me? Dante paused. His hand was on the car door. He turned his head slowly back to Sebastian. I'm not a stranger, Dante said. I am the man who is going to burn your world to ash. You can't take her. Sebastian lunged forward, grabbing Audrey's arm. She's my wife. She's carrying my child. Snap. It happened so fast, nobody saw the movement. One of Dante's guards, a man named Marco, materialized from the shadows and intercepted Sebastian. With a swift twist, he bent Sebastian's wrist back until a sickening pop echoed. Sebastian screamed, dropping to his knees. Don't touch her, Marco said, his voice flat. He shoved Sebastian into the puddle where the $20 bill lay. Sasha screamed, Sebastian, help! Police! Dante helped Audrey into the back seat. He paused before getting in, looking down at Sebastian, who was clutching his broken wrist in the mud. You like wine, Sebastian? Dante asked. I'll make sure you drown in it. He slammed the door. The convoy peeled away, disappearing into the night as quickly as it had arrived, leaving Sebastian Cole kneeling in the dirt, his tuxedo ruined, his wrist shattered, and his doom sealed. The penthouse suite of the Rossi estate in New Jersey was a fortress. It was quiet, soundproofed, and safe. Audrey sat on the edge of a velvet sofa, a mug of hot tea in her hands. She had showered, scrubbing the wine from her skin until she was pink, and changed into soft cashmere loungewear Dante had provided. Dante sat opposite her, pouring himself a whiskey. He hadn't yelled. He hadn't lectured. He had just waited. "I told you he was no good," Dante said finally, breaking the silence. 3 years ago, I told you. You wanted to play normal. You wanted the picket fence. "I loved him, Dante," Audrey said, her voice hoarse. I thought if I left the family, if I walked away from the business, I could have a peaceful life. I didn't want my baby to grow up around guns." Dante swirled his glass. "Peace is an illusion, Audrey. There are only wolves and sheep. You tried to be a sheep. Look what the wolf did to you." He gestured to her stomach. "Is the baby okay?" "Yes. She's strong. Like us." Dante nodded. He set his glass down. "Good. Because tomorrow, you stop being a sheep. You are a Rossi. And a Rossi pays their debts." "What are you going to do?" Audrey asked, a flicker of fear returning. "Dante, I don't want you to kill him. If you kill him, the police will investigate. It will ruin the baby's life." Dante smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator playing with its food. "Kill him?" Dante chuckled darkly. "Audrey, death is too easy. Death is a mercy. I'm not going to kill Sebastian Cole. I'm going to make him wish he was dead. I'm going to take the only thing he actually loves." "His money," Audrey said. "His legacy," Dante corrected. "He thinks he's a self-made man? Tomorrow, we show him exactly who built his pedestal." Sebastian woke up in a guest room at the Pierre Hotel. His head was pounding, and his right wrist was in a cast. The ER doctor had called it a severe sprain with a hairline fracture. He groaned, sitting up. Memories of the night before came flooding back. The humiliation, the man with the scar, the pain. "Audrey," he muttered, grinding his teeth. "That bitch set me up. She hired some thugs to scare me." He grabbed his phone from the nightstand. He expected texts from Audrey begging for forgiveness. He expected her to be panic-stricken without money. Instead, his phone was blowing up. 14. Missed calls. CFO 8 missed calls. Head of Legal 3 missed calls. Bank of America 22. Text messages. Sebastian frowned. He opened the first text from his CFO, Greg. Message. "Sebastian, where are you? The Oakhaven merger is dead. Get to the office, now." "What?" Sebastian scrambled out of bed, ignoring the pain in his wrist. The Oakhaven merger was a done deal. It was supposed to be signed at noon today. It was worth $300 million. He dialed Greg. "Greg, what the hell are you talking about?" "Sebastian," Greg sounded like he was hyperventilating. "It's a bloodbath. Oakhaven pulled out at 8:00 a.m. They cited ethical concerns regarding leadership. But that's not the worst part." "What could be worse than losing $300 million? Sebastian screamed, struggling to pull on his pants with one hand. The bank called the loan on the coal tower the construction loan. It had a clause. If our liquidity drops below a certain point, they can demand immediate repayment. With the merger dead, our stock tanked 40% in pre-market trading. We triggered the clause. "How much?" Sebastian felt cold. "All of it. $150 million. Due by close of business today. If we don't pay, they seize the building. They seize everything. Sebastian, we're bankrupt." Sebastian dropped the phone. No, this wasn't possible. Yesterday he was the king of New York. This was a nightmare. He threw on a fresh suit, not bothering to shower, and ran out of the hotel. He left Sasha sleeping in the bed. He didn't care about her right now. He needed to save his empire. When Sebastian burst into his office, the floor was in chaos. Phones were ringing off the hook. Staff were huddled in corners, whispering. "Greg!" Sebastian shouted, storming toward the boardroom. "Get the legal team! We sue Oakhaven! We sue the bank!" Greg met him at the door of the boardroom. He was pale, sweating profusely. "We can't sue, Sebastian," Greg whispered. The debt was sold. Sold? To who? A private equity firm. Vindicta Holdings. They bought our debt from the bank at 9 a.m. this morning. They are the new creditors. And their representative is in the boardroom right now. Good. Sebastian straightened his tie, his arrogance returning. I can talk to them. I can charm anyone. I'll offer them equity. I'll make a deal. He pushed past Greg and threw open the double mahogany doors of the boardroom. "Gentlemen," Sebastian announced, putting on his best winning smile, "I'm sure we can work this." The words died in his throat. The boardroom was empty, except for 2 people at the far end of the long granite table. Sitting in Sebastian's chair, the custom leather chair he had imported from Italy, was Dante Rossi. He was wearing a grey suit today, looking even more imposing in the daylight. He was casually flipping through a file folder labelled Coal Enterprises, Liquidation Strategy. Standing next to him, looking out the floor-to-ceiling window at the Manhattan skyline, was a woman. She turned slowly. It was Audrey. But it wasn't the Audrey from last night. The messy bun was gone, replaced by sleek, straight hair that shone like spun gold. The stained dress was gone. She wore a sharp, tailored white pantsuit that screamed power. She looked like a CEO. She looked like a queen. "Audrey!" Sebastian blinked, his brain unable to process the image. What are you doing here? Get away from him! That's the thug who broke my wrist." Dante didn't look up from the file. "Sit down, Sebastian." "I will not sit down!" Sebastian roared. "Security, get these people out of my office." "It's not your office anymore," Audrey said. Her voice was calm, clear, and utterly devoid of warmth. "What are you talking about?" Audrey picked up a document from the table and slid it across the granite surface. It stopped perfectly in front of Sebastian. "Vindicta Holdings," Audrey said. "It's a shell company, wholly owned by the Rossi family trust." Sebastian stared at the paper. You bought my debt?" "We bought you," Dante corrected, finally looking up. His eyes were like black holes. "We own the loan, we own the building, and since you can't pay the 150 million by 5 p.m., we own the company." "You can't do this," Sebastian stammered, his face turning purple. "I built this. You're just a housewife." Audrey laughed. It was a genuine laugh, but it chilled Sebastian to the bone. "A housewife?" She walked slowly toward him. "Sebastian, did you never wonder where the money for your first firm came from?" "My grandmother's savings?" Sebastian froze. "My grandmother died penniless," Audrey said, leaning in close. "That was my money, my trust fund. Money I earned laundering cash for the biggest crime syndicate on the East Coast before I decided to retire and marry you. I built you, Sebastian, brick by brick." She poked him in the chest with a manicured nail. "And now," she whispered, "I'm going to tear you down, brick by brick." Sebastian looked at Dante, then at Audrey. The walls were closing in. We can work this out," Sebastian pleaded, his voice cracking. "Audrey, baby, please, think of the child. I'm the father." "You lost the right to be a father when you let that whore pour wine on my son," Audrey spat. Son? Sebastian breathed. It's a boy? It's a Rossi, Dante interjected, standing up. He towered over the table. And a Rossi doesn't have a father like you. Dante checked his watch. You have security coming up to escort you out. You can take a cardboard box for your personal items, but leave the laptop and the phone. Those are company property. You can't just kick me out. I'm the CEO. Not anymore, Audrey said. She turned back to the window. Oh, and Sebastian, I cancelled your car service. It's a long walk to the unemployment office. As if on cue, two burly security guards, men Sebastian didn't recognize, men who looked like they worked for Dante, entered the room. Mr. Cole, one said. This way. Sebastian looked at his wife one last time. He saw no love, no pity, just the cold, hard reflection of his own failure. He was dragged out of the room, shouting threats that nobody listened to. When the doors closed, silence returned to the boardroom. Dante sat back down and poured 2 glasses of water. He slid one to his sister. Phase 1 complete, Dante said. He's broken professionally. Audrey took a sip, her hand resting on her stomach. He still has his freedom, Dante. He still has Sasha. He thinks he can bounce back. Dante's eyes glinted. That's phase 2. We don't just want him broke, Audrey. We want him alone. We want him to know what it feels like to be betrayed by the person he trusts most. Audrey looked at her brother. Sasha? Sasha, Dante agreed. Marco paid her a little visit this morning while Sebastian was running here. You'd be amazed how quickly loyalty fades when you offer a greedy woman a suitcase full of cash and a one-way ticket to Paris. Audrey smiled. Tell me. Tonight, Dante said. Tonight, Sebastian goes back to the hotel seeking comfort. And tonight, he finds out that even his mistress has a price. The walk back to the Pierre Hotel was a blur of humiliation. Sebastian had been escorted out of his own building, the skyscraper that bore his name in 10-foot steel letters, by security guards he had hired. His phone was gone. His laptop was gone. All he had was the clothes on his back and the throbbing pain in his broken wrist. But as he entered the hotel lobby, a small spark of hope reignited in his chest. Sasha. Sasha was resourceful. Her father had been an oil tycoon. She knew people. And more importantly, the safe in their hotel suite contained his emergency fund, $50,000 in cash, and, crucially, the black ledger. It was a small, encrypted hard drive containing records of every bribe Sebastian had paid to city officials to get his zoning permits approved. It was his leverage. If he went down, he could threaten to take half the city council with him, unless they pulled strings to help him. I can fix this, he muttered, ignoring the strange looks from the concierge as he hurried to the elevator. We take the cash. We go to the Hamptons' house. We regroup. He swiped his keycard. The light flashed red. Access denied. Damn it! He tried again. Red. Panic flared. He marched back to the front desk. My key isn't working. Suite 404. Sebastian Cole. The receptionist, a young woman who usually flirted with him, didn't smile. She didn't even make eye contact. She typed something on her keyboard. Mr. Cole, we were informed that the credit card on file was declined. We have locked the room until payment is secured. Declined? Sebastian slammed his good hand on the marble counter. Run it again. It's a black Amex. It's been cancelled, sir, by the primary account holder, Mrs. Audrey Cole. Sebastian felt the blood drain from his face. Audrey was methodically dismantling his life. Fine. Fine. Just let me up to get my things. My wife is in the room. Sasha Miller. She'll pay. The receptionist looked up, her expression pitying. Ms. Miller checked out an hour ago, sir. Checked out? The world spun. Where did she go? She left a note for you at the desk. The receptionist slid a cream-colored envelope across the counter. Sebastian tore it open with his teeth. Inside was a single sheet of hotel stationery. The handwriting was looped and bubbly, smelling of Sasha's perfume. Seb, you always said business comes first. I got a better offer. Don't look for me. Paris is lovely this time of year. XOXO, Sasha. A better offer? Sebastian whispered. Then a horrific realization hit him. The safe, the hard drive. Let me up, Sebastian screamed, lunging over the desk. I need to get into that room. Security was on him in seconds. They dragged him out the revolving doors and threw him onto the sidewalk, the exact same spot where Audrey had stood the night before. Don't come back, Mr. Cole, the head of security warned, or we call the NYPD. Sebastian scrambled up, his tuxedo jacket torn, his hair wild. He ran around the side of the building to the loading dock, where he knew the staff took smoke breaks. He found a young bus boy he recognized. Hey, you! Sebastian shouted. Let me use your phone. I'll give you this watch. He fumbled to unclasp his Rolex. It's worth 20 grand. The busboy looked skeptical, but took the watch. He unlocked his phone and handed it over. Sebastian dialed Sasha's number. It went straight to voicemail. He dialed his lawyer's personal cell. Sebastian? The lawyer sounded terrified. Don't call me. The FBI just raided my office. What? Why? Someone sent them the Black Ledger, Sebastian. They have everything. The bribes to the zoning commissioner, the kickbacks to the inspectors, the offshore accounts. They have the hard drive. Sebastian dropped the phone. The screen cracked on the pavement. Sasha hadn't just left him. She had sold the hard drive. Audrey. It had to be Audrey. She knew about the safe. She knew Sasha was greedy. She had used his mistress to deliver the death blow. The busboy picked up his cracked phone. Hey man, you broke it! Sebastian didn't hear him. He was backing away, hyperventilating. He had no money, no home, no company. And now he was a fugitive. The FBI would be looking for him any minute. He couldn't go to his friends. They would turn him in to save themselves. He couldn't go to the bank. He looked down at his shoes, Italian leather, now scuffed and muddy. He was the king of New York, and he had been checkmated by a woman he thought was too stupid to play the game. But as he stood in the alleyway, the smell of garbage mixing with the rain, rage began to replace the fear. It was a hot, blinding fury. You think you've won, Audrey? He hissed, his eyes wide and manic. You think you can just erase me? He turned and ran into the depths of the city. He wasn't Sebastian Cole, the CEO, anymore. He was a cornered animal, and animals don't follow the rules. 1 week later, the motel room in Queens smelled of stale cigarette smoke and mildew. The neon sign outside blinked incessantly, casting a rhythmic red glow across the stained bedspread where Sebastian lay. He was unrecognizable. He hadn't shaved in a week, his beard coming in patchy and dark. He had traded his ruined tuxedo at a pawn shop for jeans, a hoodie, and $300 cash. Most of that money was gone now, spent on cheap whiskey and a burner phone. He stared at the ceiling, tracing the water stains. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Audrey. Not the crying, submissive Audrey he had ignored for years, but the Audrey in the boardroom, the one in the white suit, the one who looked at him like he was an insect. She took my life, he thought, taking a swig from a bottle of cheap rye. She took my son. The news was playing on a small, fuzzy TV in the corner. Authorities are still searching for real estate mogul Sebastian Cole, wanted on 30 counts of fraud, bribery, and racketeering. Meanwhile, Cole Enterprises, now under the interim leadership of Audrey Bennett Rossi, has announced a massive charity initiative to rebuild low-income housing in the Bronx. Sebastian threw the bottle at the TV. It shattered the screen, sparking and dying. "My money!" he screamed. "She's giving away my money!" He paced the small room. He needed leverage. He needed a way out. He couldn't leave the country. His face was everywhere. He needed a bargaining chip so valuable that even Dante Rossi would hesitate. He needed the baby. A knock on the door made him freeze. He reached into his waistband and pulled out a switchblade he had bought off a junkie in the hallway. "Who is it?" "It's Rico," a raspy voice answered. Sebastian unlocked the door. Rico was a small, wiry man with nervous eyes and a history of carjackings. Sebastian had met him at a bar 2 days ago and realized he was desperate enough for cash to do anything. Rico slipped inside, shaking rain from his coat. "I got it, man. I got the schedule." "Show me," Sebastian demanded. Rico pulled a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. "It wasn't easy. That Rossi guy, the brother, he's got guys everywhere. But I found a leak. One of the cleaning ladies at the Rossi estate creates a log of who comes and goes." Sebastian snatched the paper. It was a handwritten schedule. Monday, 10 a.m., prenatal yoga, home. Tuesday, 2 p.m., Dr. Evans, OBGYN checkup, Park Avenue Medical Center. Wednesday, meetings, home. Tomorrow, Sebastian whispered, his finger tracing the Tuesday entry. "Dr. Evans, she has to leave the fortress to go to the doctor." "I don't know, boss," Rico said nervously. "The Rossi family, they roll deep. You see those SUVs? They got military-grade security." "She won't have the whole army with her at the doctor," Sebastian argued, his eyes feverish. "It's a medical building. They can't bring guns inside. She'll have 1, maybe 2 guards in the lobby. She'll be vulnerable in the parking garage." "And what's the plan?" Rico asked. "We grab her? Then what?" "We trade her," Sebastian said, a cruel smile forming. "We take her to the warehouse district. I call Dante. I tell him if he wants his sister and his nephew back, he transfers $50 million to an offshore crypto account and gets me a plane to non-extradition territory. And if he says no?" "He won't say no." Sebastian laughed darkly. "They're Italians. Family is everything. It's their weakness." He grabbed Rico by the collar. "You drive the getaway car. I grab the girl. I'll give you $100 grand when the transfer clears." Rico licked his lips. $100 grand. You promise?" "I promise." It was a lie, of course. Sebastian planned to leave Rico behind the moment he got the money, but Rico didn't need to know that. The parking garage of the Park Avenue Medical Center was dimly lit. Sebastian crouched behind a concrete pillar on the 3rd level, his heart hammering against his ribs. He was wearing a janitor's jumpsuit he had stolen from a laundry cart, a cap pulled low over his eyes. Rico was in a stolen Honda Civic 2 rows over, engine idling. "Come on," Sebastian whispered, checking his watch. "Come on." At 1:50 p.m., the black SUVs arrived. 2 of them. They pulled up to the elevator bank. The doors opened. 2 massive bodyguards stepped out first, scanning the area. They looked professional, their earpieces coiled behind their ears. Then Audrey stepped out. She looked radiant. She was wearing a loose, floral maternity dress, one hand resting protectively on her stomach. She was laughing at something one of the guards said. She looked happy. Happier than she had ever looked with him. The sight broke something inside Sebastian. It wasn't just about the money anymore. He wanted to hurt her. He wanted to wipe that smile off her face. The guards escorted her to the elevator. "Clear," one said. They got in. The doors closed. Sebastian exhaled. "Okay, step 1 complete. Now we wait for them to come back down. When they come back, they'll be relaxed. Heading home." He moved to his position. He had tampered with the fuse box on this level earlier. When they returned, he would cut the lights. In the confusion, he would use the pepper spray he had bought to blind the guards, grab Audrey, and drag her to Rico's car. It was a sloppy plan, a desperate plan. But Sebastian was a desperate man. 45. Minutes later, the elevator chimed. Sebastian signaled Rico. He put his hand on the fuse box lever. The doors opened. Audrey walked out, flanked by the guards. She was looking at an ultrasound photo, smiling. "Kill the lights," Sebastian hissed to himself. He yanked the lever. Clunk. The garage plunged into pitch blackness. "Contact!" one of the guards shouted. Sebastian moved. He knew exactly where she was. He rushed forward in the dark, the pepper spray ready. "Audrey!" he screamed, lunging for the white shape of her dress. He grabbed her arm. She screamed. "Get off me! You're coming with me, you bitch!" Sebastian snarled, dragging her toward the Honda. "Rico, go! Go!" Headlights flared. Rico revved the engine. But then, a sound cut through the chaos. A sound louder than the engine, louder than Audrey's scream. Click-clack, the sound of floodlights engaging. Suddenly, the garage was bathed in blinding white light, brighter than the sun. Sebastian blinked, shielding his eyes. He wasn't holding Audrey. He was holding a mannequin, a store mannequin dressed in Audrey's floral dress. What? Sebastian stared at the plastic arm in his hand. He looked around. The guards had pulled off their sunglasses. They weren't guards. They were NYPD SWAT officers. And from behind the pillars, from everywhere, red laser dots appeared on Sebastian's chest. 5, 10, 20 of them. "Drop the weapon!" a voice boomed over a loudspeaker. Rico's car shrieked as he tried to peel out, but a spike strip deployed instantly from the exit ramp. The tires blew out with a gunshot sound. Rico slammed into the concrete wall. Sebastian stood frozen, holding the mannequin arm. The elevator doors opened again behind him. Slowly, calmly, Dante Rossi stepped out. Beside him was the real Audrey. She wasn't scared. She looked bored. "Did you really think," Dante's voice echoed in the concrete chamber, "that we would let you get within 10 miles of her without us knowing?" Audrey stepped forward, staying behind the wall of police shields. "We've been tracking your burner phone since you bought it, Sebastian. We knew about Rico. We knew about the leak. My housekeeper has been on my payroll for 20 years. She wrote that schedule because I told her to." You set me up," Sebastian wept, dropping the mannequin arm. The knife clattered to the floor. "I didn't set you up," Audrey said coldly. "I just gave you enough rope to hang yourself. Kidnapping is a federal offense, Sebastian. Life without parole." Sebastian fell to his knees. The fight left him. "On the ground! Now!" The SWAT team moved in. As the officers tackled Sebastian, pressing his face into the oil-stained concrete, he turned his head to look at Audrey one last time. She didn't look away. She watched him being handcuffed, her hand resting gently on her baby. "Goodbye, Sebastian," she whispered. Dante placed a hand on her shoulder. "Let's go, Sorellina. You have a real doctor's appointment to get to." They turned and walked back into the elevator, leaving Sebastian Cole screaming his innocence to a room full of people who knew exactly what he was. 3 months later, the visitation room at Rikers Island was cold, smelling of bleach and despair. Sebastian Cole sat on a metal stool bolted to the floor, wearing a jumpsuit that was 3 sizes too big. His head was shaved, lice were rampant in Block C, and his once manicured hands were rough and scarred from a fight in the yard over a packet of instant coffee. He stared at the reinforced glass partition. He was waiting for his lawyer, not the high-powered shark he used to employ, but a public defender named Mr. Henderson, who looked like he hadn't slept in a week. When Henderson finally sat down, he didn't open a briefcase. He just folded his hands. "Well?" Sebastian leaned forward, his chains rattling. Did you get the plea deal? 2 years in minimum security? White-collar resort? Henderson sighed, rubbing his temples. Mr. Cole, there is no deal. What do you mean, no deal? Sebastian snapped, though his voice lacked its old fire. I have information. I know about the zoning bribes. I can give them names. They don't need your names, Sebastian, Henderson said quietly. They have the black ledger. They have the hard drive. Your former mistress, Ms. Miller? She didn't just sell it to anyone. She turned state's witness 3 weeks ago. Sebastian felt the blood leave his face. Sasha? She testified. She gave them everything. She claimed you coerced her. She played the victim perfectly. She's currently in witness protection in Montana, living off a stipend. But you? You're the ringleader. Sebastian slumped back. So, what are we looking at? Henderson pulled a piece of paper from his pocket. The district attorney is pushing for the maximum on all counts. Kidnapping, attempted extortion, racketeering, fraud, embezzlement. He paused. They're offering 25 years to life. No parole for the first 20. 20 years? Sebastian whispered. I'll be 60. If you survive, Henderson added grimly. And there's something else. Your divorce was finalized this morning. He slid a document under the glass. It was a standard decree. Audrey kept the house, the assets, the company, and full custody of the unborn child. Sebastian got nothing, not even visitation rights. She didn't even come, Sebastian muttered. She didn't need to, Henderson said, standing up. She sent a message, though. Her lawyer told me to tell you, enjoy the vintage. Sebastian stared at the wall. Enjoy the vintage. The wine Sasha had poured on her. The wine he had laughed at. Now he was the one drowning. As the guard came to drag him back to his cell, Sebastian looked at a small television mounted in the corner of the guard station. It was tuned to a business news channel. Title: Audrey Rossi named Businesswoman of the Year. On the screen, Audrey was standing at a podium. She was heavily pregnant, glowing, looking powerful and serene. She was announcing a new scholarship fund for single mothers. She didn't look like a victim. She didn't look like a mob wife. She looked like a titan. And she didn't mention Sebastian's name once. He realized then, with a crushing finality, that he wasn't the villain of her story anymore. He was just a footnote, a mistake she had corrected. Move it, inmate, the guard grunted, shoving him forward. Sebastian walked into the darkness of the corridor, the image of his smiling ex-wife burning in his mind, the only light left in his world. The cherry blossoms were in full bloom, painting the park in shades of soft pink and white. The air was crisp, filled with the sound of city life. But here, on the private terrace of the Rossi penthouse overlooking the park, it was peaceful. Audrey sat in a wicker chair, rocking gently. In her arms was a bundle wrapped in white linen. Leo. She had named him Leo. He was 6 weeks old, with a tuft of dark hair and eyes that were already alert, watching the leaves flutter in the wind. He looks like you, a deep voice rumbled. Audrey looked up. Dante was leaning against the doorway, holding 2 glasses of lemonade. The scary butcher of the underworld looked surprisingly domesticated without his suit jacket, his sleeves rolled up to reveal his tattoos. He has your stubbornness, Audrey smiled, taking the glass. He refused to sleep until 4:15 a.m. Dante chuckled, walking over to peer down at his nephew. He reached out a finger, and Leo's tiny hand gripped it instantly. The contrast between the infant's soft skin and Dante's scarred, calloused finger was stark. He's strong, Dante noted. Good grip. He'll need it, Audrey said softly. Ideally for holding a pen, not a gun, Dante. We'll see. Dante winked. Maybe he'll be an architect, like his mother should have been allowed to be. Audrey looked out at the skyline. Cole Enterprises was gone. She had rebranded it Phoenix Group. They were no longer building luxury condos for billionaires. They were revitalizing neighborhoods, building schools, and creating affordable housing. She was using the Rossi family money to do good, washing the blood money clean with every brick she laid. Have you heard from him? Audrey asked, her voice neutral. Dante's face hardened slightly. He tried to send a letter from prison last week, asking for money for the commissary. Claimed he was being targeted by the gangs. And I had it returned to sender. Unopened. Dante took a sip of his drink. He made his bed. He can rot in it. Audrey looked down at Leo. For a long time, she had feared that a part of Sebastian would always be with her because of the baby. She feared she would look at her son and see the monster who fathered him. But looking at Leo now, she saw nothing of Sebastian. She saw herself. She saw the strength of the women before her. She saw a fresh start. You know, Audrey said, standing up and walking to the edge of the balcony. For years I thought my life was over if I wasn't Mrs. Sebastian Cole. I thought I was nothing without him. She took a deep breath of the spring air. I was right about one thing. Mrs. Sebastian Cole is dead. She died the night she let herself be humiliated for the sake of peace. She turned to Dante, her eyes shining with a fierce, unshakable joy. But Audrey Rossi? She's just getting started. Dante raised his glass in a toast. To the Queen. Audrey smiled, hugging her son close. To the future. Below them the city moved on, busy and loud. Somewhere in a concrete cell upstate, a man sat alone with his regrets. But up here, in the light, there was no room for shadows. There was only family, loyalty, and the sweet, intoxicating taste of victory. And that is the story of how Audrey Rossi turned her pain into power. Sebastian thought he could break her because she was kind, but he forgot that kindness isn't weakness. It's just a restraint. When he cut that restraint, he didn't unleash a victim. He unleashed a warrior. If this story satisfied your craving for justice, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you want more stories like this. What did you think of Dante's revenge? Was prison enough for Sebastian, or should he have suffered more? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new episode of our daily drama series. Until next time, remember, be careful who you betray, because you never know who is standing in their corner.